Hi, this is Finoptio. In this video, we're going to talk about one of the building blocks of wealth: liquidity. First of all, why did we choose liquidity as an important topic? In our last video, we talked about how self-confidence in investing is crucial for investing to be successful. We also talked about being specific about our goals to be confident. For example, we need to know what we want to carve so we can choose the right carving knife. Similarly, it's important to be specific about your goals so that you can be confident that investing is the right vehicle for you. The concept of liquidity is very important in refining this goal. Why do we invest? In most cases, we invest to become wealthy. What is this wealth? Who are the wealthy people you can think of? Many people use net worth a lot as a measure of this affluence. Someone at point A is richer than someone at point B based on their net worth, and so on. That's why many people also set their goals in terms of a specific net worth number, like $10 million. But this view of wealth is a bit of a simplification of wealth. It's not specific enough. Let's revisit our definition of wealth. Wealth is the ability to consistently get what you want, when you want it. Does someone with a net worth of 10 million necessarily meet this definition of affluence? No, they don't. Having a high net worth doesn't necessarily mean you can consistently get what you want, when you want it. That's why I said that simply basing your goals on net worth isn't specific enough. Real wealth looks more like this. You need to fulfill the 4 components to a certain level to be close to the definition of wealthy. Today, we're going to learn about one of the 4 components of wealth: liquidity. The importance of liquidity will come naturally to you when you look at examples of people who have very high net worths and everyone thinks they're wealthy, but don't actually meet the 3 definitions of wealth. The first example is Mr. A retired restaurant entrepreneur. He owns and lives in a home appraised at $5 million. He currently has no debt. He also has close to $1 million in cash. People consider him very wealthy. With a net worth of $6 million and a luxury home, he appears to be very wealthy. But his actual situation is a little different than people expect. First of all, he was retired, so he had no cash flow and was living off his $1 million in cash. He's always on edge because he doesn't know when he'll run out of cash. On the other hand, property taxes continue to accrue. Depending on the country, most countries charge people who own real estate somewhere between 0% and 2% in property taxes every year. A 2% property tax on $5 million means you'll pay $100,000 in taxes every year. Meanwhile, he wasn't in a position to sell his house. This is a house that he has lived in for a long time and still lives in today. As a senior citizen, he has no desire to sell his current home. And it's in a neighborhood with very low transaction volume. It's appraised at $5 million, but it's a very difficult neighborhood to find buyers, and even if he did decide to sell, he doesn't know when or how much he could get for it. Especially since he's been in the restaurant business his whole life, he has no financial knowledge. So he didn't have the knowledge to borrow against the house and get a return on his investment beyond the interest rate on the loan. So he doesn't take advantage of having an expensive home and getting a good mortgage. As a result, he lived a life that didn't fulfill all 3 of the aforementioned requirements for affluence. He was forced to live frugally despite having a very high net worth. The second example is Mr. B, the son of a wealthy entrepreneur. Despite his young age, he owns hundreds of thousands of dollars in sports cars and watches. People around him consider him to be very wealthy. Because at such a young age, he owns expensive things that most people can't afford. But his actual situation is a little different from what people expect. His spending was only possible with his wealthy father's permission. With no control over his own money, it was impossible for him to freely get what he wanted, when he wanted it. Even his father didn't have perfect control over money. His father is the head of a very large company, but the company is privately held and his father only owns 30% of it. The company itself is very wealthy, but it was not easy for him to access cash from the wealthy company. In most countries, income tax rates are very high, so taking money out of the company in the form of the CEO's salary would be very taxing. Raising the CEO's salary also makes it harder for other employees to resist requests for higher wages. Other shareholders will take notice of the increased costs. He could sell his shares to raise cash, but that's not easy because the company is privately held and he doesn't have a strong control position. For all of these reasons, he ends up living a frugal life, which is very different from his definition of wealth, as he is only able to spend big on occasion. The third example is Mr. C, a cryptocurrency investor. He has been investing in cryptocurrency for only 2 years. In just 2 years, his cryptocurrency valuation has grown to $1 million. He is very excited about his achievement and brags about it to everyone around him. He tells others that he has made $1 million in 2 years, and that with his investment skills, he will be at least $10 million richer in 10 years. People around him are very envious and think he is very wealthy. But the reality is a little different. First of all, he invested in a cryptocurrency with a very volatile price that can make him a lot of money in a short period of time. He sees the value of his virtual currency fluctuate rapidly during the period of his investment, and he is always anxious. It's not the same peace of mind as someone who has $1 million in cash. He's always saving and trying to grow his savings so that when the price of the cryptocurrency plummets, he can buy at the lowest point. This naturally leads to a life that is far from the definition of wealthy. He may be able to sell $1 million worth of cryptocurrency right now and spend $1 million, but his dream is to be $10 million richer in 10 years. So he's not living a wealthy life, but he's constantly on edge, trading cryptocurrencies, living frugally, and growing his savings. Let's summarize. In the end, what is the one sentence that sums up why these 3 people live frugal lives despite appearing to be wealthy? It's no liquidity. We'll define liquidity as the ability to get cash quickly and in large amounts. They don't consistently get what they want, when they want it, because they've chosen a wealth accumulation strategy that doesn't take liquidity into account. So when we aim to be wealthy, we must set specific goals that take liquidity into account. So what is a highly liquid form of wealth? You can have highly liquid wealth if you just do the opposite of these 3 people. You should have an asset mix where your primary residence is a low percentage of your total assets. A high percentage of residential real estate makes you less liquid because you can't sell it. Second, you need to reduce the percentage of low trading assets. If you have a high proportion of low trading assets, they will be less liquid because they are not easy to sell. Third, you need to be financially literate. If you can borrow against your holdings and earn a return on your investment above the interest rate, you can always borrow against your holdings to cash out. Fourth, you need to have control over your money. Like Mr. B and Mr. B's father, if you don't have control over your money for a variety of reasons, you may not be able to use it, even if you own it. Rather than simply aiming to be the largest shareholder of a huge company, it's important to think about how you can use that company to free up cash. Fifth, reduce your allocation to highly volatile assets. If you have too many assets that are too volatile in price, it's harder to use them to free up cash. Sixth, have realistic goals. If you have a goal that is too high compared to your reality, like Mr. C, you will spend your whole life aiming high and far away from a wealthy life. Having realistic goals will give you the mindset to avoid highly volatile assets like cryptocurrencies and choose more liquid asset structures. These are 6 broad strategies to increase your liquidity. You'll hear more about specific strategies as the course progresses. Today you learned about liquidity, one of the 4 components of wealth. Next time, we'll learn about the second component, credit. The specific thing we're learning about wealth is having confidence in your investments. You have to have confidence in your investments to be successful with them. Remember to keep this big picture in mind as you learn each lesson. If you liked this video, please subscribe to the FinOptio YouTube channel. And don't forget to visit the FinOptio website via the channel information or the link in the first comment. You will find more financial education content there. Thank you.